We'll see. Fingers crossed. She's doing all right. She's got a good job.
So that's the The 21-year-old is still in Teachout, has his own apartment, which actually is a house. She's owner of some college, and she was just in
I'd like to welcome everyone today. This is sort of like, I think it's sort of an annual thing because last July we had about somewhere in the neighborhood of like 15 to 17 readers here. That was my plan today. But we had about 5 people that had various mishaps that were supposed to be here. But we still have plenty of people here. It's going to be a great day. We have some of my good friends here, Reverie's here from Dallas, Texas. And happy about that. Me and Adrian are here from Toledo, Ohio. Taylor's here from Dallas, or Denton, whatever. Dallas. Yeah, okay. Yes, and so, it'll be awesome. But, let's see. And I wanted to tell everybody that since we had a few less people today here than I would have liked, I'm going to try before the end of the summer to do another one of these large events and try to get 15 to 20 readers here, which will either happen in August or it'll happen in September. Whenever Jason Reard's on, that's when we do it. We're gonna go through a list of featured readers and Taylor's gonna put some music as well. And when we've done that, we will have an open mic. Once we get through that, give me 5 minutes and I will send out a list for everyone. I promise you, if you're here, we'll get on it. I'd like to say that next month, on July 9th, Jonathan Baker, Tim Heerdink, and Ian Bush will be here. I look forward to that. And then in the month of August, we will have something different. We're going to have a reading by various novelists. On August 20th, we will have a novelist named Darren Dean, who is in the English department at Lincoln University. And then I am still angling for this, but my friend S.A. Griffin, who co-edited the Outlaw Bible of American Poetry, he Belle during the month of August, so I'm going to try to get him to perform at the store. And he's hard to nail down, but we'll do that. And so that's sort of what the summer looks like. And I kind of got September figured out, but I'm looking for a active book through the month of November, and then we'll probably take the winter off like we did last year. All right. And so I will stop talking. And usually I have this gentleman come up later in the evening when he's here, but the first person I am going to call up today is Belle's own former poet laureate and my friend, Don Clayton. Let's see if I can steal that for John. There's a metal chair.
Oh, yeah.
Before John gets started, if you readers, nobody really asked me about this, but if everyone wants to do about in the neighborhood 15 minutes, that's cool. You can do whatever you like.
Hi, Taylor. Good to see you. Okay. I'm going to do probably 4 poems that are like a hodgepodge. The first one is called What's It Like? Yeah. You wonder what some things are like, you just know that you never can know. So I wonder about those kinds of things. What's it like? Some things are not described with a spoken word. If you want to know what they are, just have to do it. There's no shortcut to it. What's it like to have a baby? What's it like to feel pain and a missing foot? What's it like to ask for the revenge in marriage, get a baby? What's it like to lose all your loot? What's it like to have your mother die? What's it like to realize sweetheart told you a lie? What's it like to think you're about to die? What's it like to shoot someone and watch them die? What's it like to have PTSD? Well, you just never know what the next time will be. You just have to wait and wait and wait and see. No one else can set you free. What's it like? What's combat like, they want to know? Well, just put your fear in a box and let it go. I don't have time to let it show. And if I don't die, maybe, just maybe, I will grow. The Bible says you should expect to reap what you sow. Poets do their best to take you where they go. They write descriptive words and they try and try, but they still don't know what it's like to die. This piece is called Eating Raw Oysters with Scout Boo Radley. St. George Island on a warm, sunny day in March. Stopped at East Point for 2 pints of Appalachian Bay Raw. Leisurely drove back roads to Monroeville in hopes of meeting up with Scout Jim Adams, Boo Radley. We didn't find the Radley tree with a hole in it. We didn't even find any spearmint gum. We did find the spirit of Agnes Finch. And for 2 old lawyers, that's pretty good. At a picnic table in the city park for lunch, we dug out the crystal hot sauce and ate raw oysters on rice crackers from a paper plate with the Ghost, Scout, and Boo Radley. The next piece I want to do is called Home Place. This is where I live now. When you look at someplace like that and just, it has its own, sort of its own life. Anyway, Home Place. The old clay bricks of the chimney blend in with the rusty brown tin roof. Turkey vultures like to sit on the peak during sunny afternoons because it's easy for them to hitch a ride on the breeze coming up the hollow. With silver in the autumn sun, and hides the shallow well where a family of 12 got water for cooking and cleaning, except in August, when it would dry, and they had to carry water to the hill from the spring. The old house only has 2 rooms and a lean-to on the east side. All the doors are rotted off, but the green roll roofing on the sides has held up pretty good. The garden spot between the house and the barn, it went a long way toward feeding all those kids. And among the rocks, the dirt's still white. Mom and Dad died years ago, and 3 or 4 of the kids have passed too. They all grew up and got the hell out of Dodge because there wasn't anything for them here on this hardscrabble farm where the soil is thin and the rock ledges run right out to the surface and blink in the daylight. Like most Ozark young'uns, they left Marys County looking for fame and fortune in other places. They've been gone for years, but lately they've started drifting back in, some with good pensions earned in other places, and others with not more than Social Security. There's nobody left to give a damn about this old place, except maybe me. I didn't even grow up here. I'm gonna do one more, and this one's called Columbia Regional Airport. I spent my senior year of high school, I went to school at Ashland, which is where the Columbia Regional Airport is. And when I left for the military, it didn't exist. When I came back, that's where I flew into when I came home. Anyway, I went there to pick up my brother-in-law, who flew down once before we had a reading when we did the reported for duty book and had that released. Anyway, while I was waiting for him, this poem came to me. As I sat in the Columbia Regional Airport, waiting for the arrival of flight UA 5840 from Chicago, I remembered when I was 17. And this land was a soybean field surrounded by brush piles and multi-floor rows. I sat in the east window of the Berkshire house and watched coyotes worry the brush pile. I wondered if fear and uncertainty would make a rabbit abandon caution and make a run for it. But run to where? Just another brush pile or clump of multiple rows, so another cycle of intimidation and fear could begin? The largest coyote jumped on top of the brush pile and began scratching at the limbs and yelping. I wondered, could the coyote get to the rabbit by digging at the limbs? Who knows? Terror is a great motivator. Too much for this rabbit. It was 30 yards from the brush pile before the coyotes even knew it was gone. 200 yards to the creek bank, and the coyotes were gaining. Out of nowhere, a shadow from above. Talons reached forward. The rabbit screamed and was airborne. The coyotes stopped running, milled around, looking confused as they watched their almost meal disappear into the wild blue yonder. The rabbit was disappeared by something it could not see coming. There are no more soybeans, no more brush piles, no more multiple rows, no more rabbits. Only concrete, chain link fences, stone and metal buildings, and cars. The only sounds are the sounds of cars, of a loudspeaker no one can understand, the squawk of rubber hitting the runway, and the whir of automatic sliding doors. The only animal life are little dogs, dressed in colorful clothing, tugging at leashes held by old women. All the human faces are pinched with anxiety and uncertainty as they wonder if today is the day they will be erased by something they could not see coming. Thank you.
I'd like to say that when Reverend and I were talking a little bit earlier, she said that she's going to read a poem by her husband, Paul, who is my old friend. And I want to say Paul is not here with us today, but he was sort of like, he's the reason I programmed this particular reading. And so he's a force of nature, and I wish he was here with us. You know, he's a spirit of good. And the next person I'm going to call up is the exact opposite. And he woke up this morning in a car, and, publishes every book in the American Midwest, and is a fan of hats of all kinds, Mr. Jason Lieber.
Yeah.
Just a sweaty mongrel, Jason.
But look at that hat. Look at that hat.
A barrel of rain mistaken for a small pond in the middle of Kansas. It was mid-July, and my cousin and I had been digging post holes all day, which, in case you haven't had the pleasure, should provide all the motivation a young Midwesterner could ever need to study hard in school. And before the truck had even come to a complete stop, he had jumped out of the bed clothed into the rain barrel next to the back porch, which he proclaimed there and then to be his own private pond. Keep out, no trespassing allowed. And there he sat, submerging himself from time to time and slowly resurfacing like Martin Sheen in the final showdown scene in Apocalypse Now, spewing water at any man or beast that dared to come near, and all the while ordering me to fetch him beer after beer and refusing to get out for almost an hour. So dark and heavy thing. Hate is an energy-sucking mass. A vampire that rides on piggyback, twisting your ear and shouting, "Giddy up, motherfucker! Giddy up!" A dark and heavy thing, viscous, seductive, sticky, and sweet narcotic, somehow corrosive agent as well as a preservative for embalming whatever random arrangement of toxic ingredients and traumatizing events that should have been properly diagnosed and isolated for what they were years ago before it became terminal. A day heavy with sirens or a convict crawling through a cornfield. It's been a day heavy with sirens, horns honking, dogs barking at everything and nothing at once, and weather looming like it was some kind of harbinger of impending doom. And the TV, the phone, and the radio have all been in collusion for some time now. And there's an escaped convict crawling through a cornfield like some rough beast towards Bethlehem, Missouri, or quite possibly Bethlehem, Virginia, for all we know, to be reborn and released once again unto its own recognizance. And there's a man with pop bottle bifocals and a pencil-thin mustache, absent-mindedly stirring the heavy night air with a pocket watch on the end of a chain. The lone singularity of a thought hanging around in his head, like an empty beer can in the bed of a pickup truck doing 80 down a winding two-lane country highway. And the stars are all out in force tonight, and there's the smell of something sweet burning in the wind, and someone is cutting fat lines of crank with a stolen Costco card in the basement of a halfway house with a bad history of recidivism. Recidivism. Not a pretty name, is it? No, sir. That's one bonehead name, but that ain't me no more. Box wine and cheeses. So here you find yourself once again sleepless and stuporous, standing over the kitchen sink at 3 a.m., wearing boxers and a t-shirt, watching your disheveled doppelganger in the night-blackened window pane wash down fistfuls of wiped cheddar-flavored Cheez-Its, with a jelly jar of chilled box wine, a rosé or blush, maybe. And not too shabby for the price, when you consider the mildly peculiar algorithm of existential circumstances you've woken up at the center of here for 3 nights in a row. In this bowl of weird, silent, timeless calm, at the nebulous eye of the everyday hurricane of our lives, occurring only at the geotemporal center between midnight and dawn. No, sir, not too shabby at all. This is called True Story. A black candle burning with a blue flame means there are ghosts about, my grandma used to say. But then again, she used to say a lot of whacked out shit back in the day. Usually when she was deep into her third mid-afternoon martini, and just before her mid-afternoon nap, what can you say, in the vanguard of the pills and exotic cocktails generation. And they practically invented day drinking. And she blurted out things like Elvis Presley used to mow a lawn when he was a kid. Or John Connolly and Lyndon Johnson were both business associates of your granddaddies. And Connolly and his cronies were always trying to get your granddaddy to run against Johnson for office. And your granddaddy swore to me before he died that he'd been in Dealey Plaza that day and had his own 8mm film of assassination. And that it was locked in a safety deposit box in a bank in Abilene. And I was to give the key to you one day when you were old enough. And of course, you knew your mother dated the photographer who took that famous picture of Jack Ruby shooting Oswald, didn't you? True story. Ballad of the Spider in the Wind. Lone maple leaf dancing with the wind in the cold jail cell of a spider's web. The wind attempting again to before his sentence can be carried out. The dark spider with his cape and mustache, who knows he cannot devour the leaf but will poison him anyway, merely out of spite. Surely it can't be so trite and tired story as the spider being in love with the wind and jealously hating the leaf because of it. We've heard it 100 times before, and it never ends well. The once and future mad philosopher king. The once and future mad philosopher king is suddenly leaping from a dream of blood and smoke on his gnarly rocky throne at the ancient heart of the black primeval forest of his mind, shouting, "My eyes! My eyes!" sending his court of woodland critters into chaos, leaving only the wind and leafless trees behind to comfort and advise him. Meanwhile, a vagabond army of the ghosts of the vanquished creeps another inch closer. This is called thunderstorm rolling. There's a badass thunderstorm rolling over the state of Kansas. Down from the Rockies over the plains, chasing a 68 Chevy pickup truck barely held together with duct tape and baling wire across the county line after county line along 70 highway. Hawks and falcons hunkered down every tree, telephone pole, and fence post takes a path. The only other vehicle on the road, nothing but a distant gleam in the rearview mirror. Baby, please don't go. Crackling through the radio as the storm begins to close the distance. And the driver pulls a crumpled up soft pack from the glove box and lights up his first one in months. Lunch money versus a knuckle sandwich. Time is the dank, haunted swamp upon which we ill-advisedly built our fragile and fractious little city-state of the mind. Time is the blind master swordsman whittling you away over time to nothing with a million tiny cuts. Time is the huge troll that lives under the bridge that spans the chasm between points A and B on the flickering integer line of our lives. Horses, dogs, men, saints, outlaws and CEOs, eagles and earthworms, the moth circling the porch light, the lone wolf on the hill howling with the madness the moon causes him with its merciless and relentless stare. Nothing and nobody gets past that neighborhood bully without first giving up lunch money, or it's a knuckle sandwich for sure, and not a second more of time. Coming to rest. Tell me how in the world did an old rowboat come to rest here in a cluster of trees on a farm in south central Missouri surrounded by a small herd of otherwise indifferent cows? Beneath an 18th century landscape painting of a sky full of massive clouds that looked like they could crush and smother the whole scene if they ever reached their collective point of maximum avalanche density, and not a river or pond in sight. It's called Still Life of 49 Merc. There's an old primer black 49 Mercury in the drive, squatting like a junkyard dog with a big, toothy stainless steel grin that looks like it's absolutely dying to go for a late Saturday afternoon spin out on the old two-lane highways just outside of town. With the windows down and some AM oldie station turned up good and loud, and everybody singing along to Papa Mama or Wop Papa Lou Bop. Then maybe pick up a case of beer and some baby Q on the way back in and proceed to do away with every last bit of it all out in the backyard amongst the fireflies, satellites, and stars. It's called Fumbling for My Shoes. It all started out damn near like a blue zone, with a railroad rumble of thunder and a crime scene reporter's flash bulb pop of lightning, waking me from a warm, deep dream of a woman in my bed and a fat roll in the cookie jar up on the top shelf. But it was just me, scrambling madly from the twisted sheets, wondering who, what, when, why, and how, fumbling for my shoes in the cold and lonely, half dark. Late work again.
long as there were cookies in that cookie jar.
No cookies. Last.
It was empty.
It symbolizes your soul.
Pretty much. So,
But, all right, I just wanted to make one push for this and mention it. Since Jason was just up here, Victor and I were fortunate enough to publish this book for him, Radio Crime in 1 Hour Room, which we published on River Dog. We have not had copies in a long time.
we got a couple out there.
Yes, he is the only.
They're all signed.
That's the
And bloody
The next reader to call up, I've just more recently gotten to become friends with. He's a wonderful gentleman. And on Monday, June 13th, he's scheduled to be reading at Gumbo Bottoms in Jefferson City. And I'd just like to welcome up Ken Gierke. Ken, it's great to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Oh, of course.
29. I don't have any collections in print. I do have poems in a few anthologies. I blog pretty regularly. Post poems in my blog pretty regularly. I had a couple books I'm going to be reading out of. I left them home when I grabbed my water. So, but I have something else here. So,
Ken, what time is that reading in Jefferson City?
7 o'clock.
Cool.
Yes. Yeah. This poem actually is in an anthology that's being put out this week by Columbia Writers Guild called Walters 2022, with an epigraph from Sylvia Plath. Beyond these waters, stars open among the lilies. Are you not blinded by such expressionless sirens? This is the silence of astounded souls. Sylvia Plath crossing the river, or crossing the water. I look into the depths between the lilies, beyond the darkness, to see the light held by the stars reflected. There's a sheen in that light dripping from my fingers as they trail through the water. A light not so distant, not so silent. Its voice calls to me, reminds me that not every siren will lead me to further darkness. The light can conquer shadow. I follow that voice to a current of my own meaning. Both from waters that stagnate would assign me to a place not meant for me. From the surface of these waters to the fish at my fingertips, from the trees on the banks to the land that holds them, there is not one thing that cannot be brought into this light. This sight is not a veiled. It is a welcoming sight, inviting me to be in the light, astounded by all that I see. Thank you. That was blank because I was going to be reading out of the book. All right. I said I don't have any collection, but actually I have a tiny collection. Have you heard of origami poetry? There's a origami poem project, and you submit to them. They take 6 poems. They look for a theme, and then they print them all on one sheet, and you fold it a particular way, and you do a slice, and it actually opens up to the book. Yeah, and I was going to show you that, but that's in the book that I left. So I have a friend in San Francisco. Her name is Marcia Brizo. She's an artist and musician. She's a classical course and pianist. She used to travel up and down the West Coast with a 50s era Cadillac Corsa, harpsichord in the back, doing conferences. Yeah, she does a lot of things. So anyway, in her art aspect, she bought a piece of land 70 miles north of San Francisco in Sonoma County, and it's 40 acres. It's half meadow, half forest, redwood, Douglas fir, and she put trails through the meadow, cut the grass with scythe. She was 81 when I was there 11 years ago. She was doing it, and woods and art installations by her and by people that she knows. Okay. So wrote all these. It's in inspired me. So I've written several poems tonight. These are what's in the collection. So the first one was a hymen. Art as a compliment. Within a meadow surrounded by forest, admire works of art that seem to be one more element of this rain. Beyond the meadow, a 300-year-old oak is laced with colored yarn and twine that marry it to a giant granite boulder seeming to grow into its side. Another oak is strung with fist-sized seeds of colorful fireclay. Fallen branches, winding across rolling slopes, between Douglas fir and redwoods that rise for hundreds of feet. Gaze at alabaster masks that nestle in the moss-covered shelf of a stone outcrop without intruding on the nature of their surroundings. This is the nature of art at Cazadero. Art is compliment, the sanctity of nature. Thank you. Thank you. She has 3 buildings on the property, and one of them is bigger than a garden shed, maybe about 10 maximum. 2 of them have electricity. 2 of them are actually functional art pieces. And she has a hot tub. And she had told me, she said, you know, when we go up to the land, she calls it the land. This girl, when we go up to the land, you have to make sure you watch the stars from the hot tub. So we did. And it was amazing. Cazadero remembered. Late October, gazing up from a meadow in the mountains above the deep Sonoma Valley, embraced by oak, bay, madrone, fir, and redwood, I relive a day spent walking trails and witnessing art subtly married to its environment. Led by the hand through this sanctuary by a friend who dedicated decades to bring to life a concept of art honoring its surroundings. Each turn, each rise, brings an appreciation for the eyes that envisioned this. Now, at the end of the day, with city lights miles away and a blanket of stars overhead, Jupiter brilliant in their midst, the experience is magnified, and I am humbled by my surroundings. Thank you. I came to think of Margaret as the keeper. True color revealed in the filtered light of Doug fir and redwood. Vibrant moss on stone walls, outcrops that speak of time. Madrone on meadow's edge, bark peeling to reveal the grain of survival. Bay trees, carpet of leaves, beside hundreds of years, alive in an oak. A vista of beauty under the watchful eye of the keeper. Thank you. Those madrone, they remind me of sycamore. They're shaped differently, but the bark peels until what you have is the bare wood, except it's a beautiful warm brown. It's amazing. Yeah. What I did here. Let's see. Okay. And so anyway, there are several granite outcroppings, and there's one section where as the slope's going down like this, there's this big pile of granite that's coming up, and so it forms almost like a natural amphitheater as you pass it. And every Labor Day, she would do a celebration where she would have artists and musicians, everybody that she associated with, come and bring their families. And she'd have a poet down at the bottom reading to everybody, along with everything else. So, from a meadow, edged with bay trees, madrones, and mighty oaks, in the heart of the redwoods, past stone outcroppings covered in moss, on a carpet of age-old needles. Listen. Who would speak above a whisper when the land whispers in a voice heard by poets? Cazadero, that expansive house of nature. Each meadow or glade a room. The air of redwood and fir a cathedral of contemplation. Who could pass through here and not become a poet? Thank you. obviously it's short. For some reason, the editor said, we know everything else has a title. Let's keep it a title. I can't even remember what it is anymore. Sharp, soft, resonant. Chimes lightly touch each other. Random harmony. Firmly placed in memory by Cazadero Breeze. Thank you. And the last one in that little micro chapbook is Cazadero Moss. Beside a leaf and needle scattered trail that winds beneath Douglas fir and redwood, massive granite boulders lie, almost a wall, high, relative to a terrain that continues to rise above the valley below. Moss covers the face, the crevices between boulders, as if married to the wall. A soft blanket of grass where fallen needles and thoughts collect. Thoughts of those who have stopped to relish the beauty of this moment. Any moment in this place. Thank you. Okay, my last poem I'm going to read. I moved here in 2011 to be with Bonnie, and I was a retired. I am a retired truck driver. So when the shooting, yes, this is gun related, and I realize there are people who are adamant about the gun rights and the Second Amendment. This is mostly about guns and a little bit about racism. But when that shooting took place in Buffalo, I paid close attention to it. I was very familiar with the area because I delivered all over Western New York, and I often delivered on the east side of Buffalo. And Bonnie had said she'd heard on the news that Buffalo's considered one of the most segregated cities in the country. And I believe it because when you had suburban flight, people moving out of the city, the east side became the black section of the city. And there's a lot of industry in there, so that's why the people were leaving. I wasn't familiar with the cops being in the area, but I think it's something recent in the last 10 or 15 years because it was basically a food desert. The short of it, there is no sense, no logic, only short circuits, minds deranged, changed by who knows what, changing matters to suit their needs. Forget the needs, the rights of those who really matter. Bullets in the back of one walking away. Hell, whatever weapon is handy. A knee in the neck, all life squeezed out. For life if you see a pickup. A spray of bullets punctuating supremacy. Life lessons delivered with a trigger. Repeat the lesson 10 years later. What the hell? Why not make it an annual event? This ain't no short story. The story knows no end. So I browse, read the news, but I'm not buying it. The words that fall out of their mouths express concern for the loss of life. Of course it's senseless. Even more senseless is their insistence that more guns will make it go away.
Anyone who knows me knows that I'm an asshole when it comes to poetry, but I'm an asshole because I care. I really do care an awful lot, and it's been great to get to know Ken. And, Ken said he did not have a large print collection. Jason Reberg, you should replicate that. I like to pressure people into professional situations. So you guys should just mingle. But, all right. And so with that, I'd like to welcome up someone who's been a friend of mine for a long time now. He's from Toledo, Ohio. I do not remember the circumstances in which we met. I was trying to think of this earlier today. But we Adrian and I, as well as Johnny and Terry Troutman and Mike Koniecki, we all got to do a Reed Theater Frank O'Hara event together at the which was one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of. And I hope that we can do something like that.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Not specifically Frank O'Hara, because he has too many goddamn French words in all his poems.
Yeah.
It was just too much. But, all right. And so with that, I would just like to welcome up maybe the nicest man in Toledo, Ohio, who works a lot of hours and drove a long ways to be here. And
homeless trying to get into the Conwood, and you let me in. So
oh, okay. Well,
good
good for
There
me.
you go.
Right on.
I just think it was actually not there. He was actually living under a bridge by High Level Cafe.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was sort of my office, and he came to me there. So
I was in a car at Meyer because it was 24 hours.
So I just in the past year put out a book with Jason Reberg, Every Broken Little Thing. It's my first full-length collection, and I'm going to read a few from here, but I'm going to start out with the title poem, Every Broken Little Thing. As my children grew older, some fear grew larger within me. I wrote poems to warn them about the dark parts of life, the power of long memories and regret. I wanted to teach them how to collect light, but I was only teaching them how to hide from darkness, how to live my life only better than I had lived it. I was afraid that one day I would look at them and see my brother and me, that they would somehow become my brother and me, and that would make me the father. A great poet once said, to recall your first joyous moment and give that to your love, and so to my love I give the day we met. But once when I was very small and our house full of cigarette smoke, light creased golden like an angel's wing through living room curtains, and I heard a tap at the window and ran excited outside to see the sun, but instead found the bird broken and tangled in a rose bush beneath the window. I stood watching it for long minutes, wanting to help, to make it unbroken, but there was nothing I could do. Was this my first real joy? A first shocking taste of balance? How life and love twist and churn with death and pain, that life is harsh, but beauty ever present. That romance and reality, like tidewaters, ebb and flow, and that they must. The bird, tiny rosebush, wild. And so, in a world of harsh balance, whole philosophies arise, unintelligible to me then because I read them all in a language of depression, and depression is a language of babble that hurts to speak. I thought of love as a real thing and the heart imaginary. All I've ever taught my children is how to find kindness in a brutal world, that you can't arm yourself with love, that joy is never a weapon, and that I'm ashamed to talk pain, and so instead I relive it over and over in my head and over in what I see ahead for my children until finally I break and sing that hollow song everyone knows in the dark. And so I look for ways to make myself feel happy, but there is no single button to push or a simple pill to take, and the truth is drugs work. Xanax will make you feel good. Alcohol makes your pain go away, and they do. Not for long enough. And when that good feeling leaves you, which it will, it always takes a greater piece than it gave, and it keeps taking and taking and taking until you've wasted yourself down to some exquisite nothingness, slouched against the kitchen wall, mumbling into your chest, well, at least I'm happy. Depression is a language of babble that hurts to speak. And still I read the world and translate as best I can, but now I know how to teach my children that love isn't all you need, but that there is no life without it. That life is a sunbeam and love a broken bird in a rose bush. And that every broken little thing in life is still a miracle we must not let go of. Speaking of my kids, I have these two collections that I've been working on for years and years. One of them was a book that I wrote for my kids. And so I'm just going to
a selection of these. The idea was I wanted to give them sort of a cheat code, all the mistakes you made through your life and all the ups and downs. And I wrote this for about 4 years, and then I started to realize their life is absolutely nothing like mine was. And so it's not for nothing. It was good introspection, but anyhow, here's part of the collection. And the titles are the first lines of the poem, so I'm just going to tear through all these. I have about 5 of them. Even when you've hidden yourself from your friends beneath the warped boards because no one understands what you mean, no one understands what you meant, something remains. You're not so secret. Something in the little blade of grass, tree leaf shivering, something wasted remains. Perhaps it is an echo of a breath that comes at you, but no request goes unheard. I want to tell you, we will always be happy, that shadows are just flat, empty things, silly to fear. But sometimes there are things in the shadows that wish us harm. Sometimes, no matter how we try, they follow us into the light, out into the open, the safe places. Sometimes they will find your heart and hold tight, squeeze hard until you finally give in or outlast them. The mathematics of talking about love returns to a pile of dry leaves. Every reason you have for every expression of love, every plan you carefully craft or bluster together, balls up into a pile of dry leaves moment. Remember your first joyous moment and give that to your love. When you have grown weary, either in argument or exuberance, and you roam that sharp edge of decision, remember, you can either stay or you can leave. If you stay, demand honesty and love. If you leave, demand honesty and love. Two more in this section. As you fly, you will see the trail of wake and think it is your past. It is not. These are arrows pointing to the future that you are preparing. And the last in this collection, as you walk through darkness, collect the light. There is always a little. Fireflies, beacons, stars, highway lamps, collect the light. When the real darkness comes, you will want to be the keeper of the light. All right, so I usually write longer narrative pieces, and these are fairly short for me. These are even shorter, and I have 1,000 of them. And Victor and I are working on something that we're going to kind of combine these very, very short poems. They're not haiku. I'm not sure what they are, but they're tiny little poems. I'm going to just read a selection. I'm going to, like the other one, I'm going to just kind of tear through them. And these are all disparate. They're not necessarily connected to one another. 3 days, the magnolia is a ballroom full of girls in pretty dresses, and then the sidewalk, a massacre of fallen soldiers. The confluence of 2 creeks is still just a creek, never a river. My brother and I could eat all the string beans we wanted so long as we weeded the family garden that was one weedy garden. People are just trees that have learned to shiver before the wind hits them. Feel as sorry for the pigeon in the talons of the hawk as you do the grub in the beak of the pigeon. Fine is the line between a superbly fit, toned physique and abject vanity. I drink plenty of beer and avoid both. Most days I plod through shallow water, moving my arms in grand circles, pretending to swim. This world can be so selfish. Boulders stand next to the sea, bone dry. My old garage has lost most of its shingles and is listening hard to the left, but then the same goes for me. A whiskey bottle is large enough to house a full-grown man and all his baggage. A nearby farmer keeps all his goats, even when the milk dries up, even too old for meat. Most seem thankful. Some are still real bastards. Some people will cut down their own trees just to be sure their neighbors get no shade for free. There are days when it's best to push out through the back of your skin like a cicada and sit lonely at the kitchen table. And 2 more on this collection. Let the tree grow tall before you cut your firewood. An acorn in the furnace will not burn for long. I will never read all of the books. I will never breathe all of the air. I will never say all that I should say, never love all those people who I should love. I will never bear witness to all the light that falls on this big blue earth each day, but I'm going to try. All right. Page numbers, 32. Oh, all right. So we lost sort of an elder in the poetry community in Toledo. And he's just a guy who, when I was young and sort of coming up in the arts, he was a fantastic poet. He was very supportive. This was not for him. I wrote this for another friend of mine who we lost some years ago. But I dedicate this to Melvin Douglas Johnson because I think it fits. It's called The Big Reveal. I choke up on this sometimes, but forgive me, I'm prone to that. Big Reveal for my friend Skylar and for Melvin Douglas Johnson. I know that it's wrong to describe this news as, let's say, a bedspread being suddenly pulled off from atop my Jack Russell, who was sweetly curled like a little cashew in that warm alcove behind my knees in our morning bed. The medley of fatigue and surprise, shock at the onrush of cold and light, the big reveal in our bedspread draws back and we say, why now? But it's morning, and really we both know it's time to rise. It isn't the pitiless, unending return of tsunami water that follows after a beach is first drawn bare, the water pulled back by the growing wave, receded more than a mile horizonward as head-scratching onlookers begin walking out much too far onto the slick decline that was, until so recently, seafloor. It must be intriguing, yes, but some natural thing in them must also suspect that water would return, that the void would fill in again and swallow them with it. It is self-deception even to hint at surprise, shock at the news of your transfer today to hospice, to deny further treatment. The big reveal on Christmas Eve day, for Christ's sake, the timing of this, if we're honest, is perfectly like you. Only I could have as easily flipped open the calendar, stabbed my finger onto any square, and hollered, why this day of all days? I know it's wrong, I know it's lazy, but it's all I have. So the bedspread slides off, all that tide water returns, a big red X on this calendar page, and here I still remain minus you. So here's the last 2 poems I'll read. So I started off, I grew up in the country in Ohio, very farm-heavy work and stuff young. I went to engineering school in Toledo for a few years, and now I'm back at the Jeep plant in Toledo, which is a godsend, but I'm back to manual labor. So I kind of did this arc. And the last 2 poems kind of speak to that. This one's called The Best Poets I Know Are Workers. I admit my bias toward working people. I pull more wisdom from a bead of sweat creasing down a dusty brow than I do from the wild hair of the ascetic tweed jacket elbow patches and blear eyes. Something there is nourishing about pushing hands into soil, fingers like roots seeking connection and synthesis. And what is a poet if not a farmer of truth? Like a seed, a truth will grow where it is dropped on paper, will take root. There is an alchemy to poetry that farmers know, that factory workers live, that those in Tyvek suits, shimmying flashlight and mountain crawl spaces understand. There's an alchemy to poetry that workers know even if they don't know they know it. I admit my bias toward working people, the raw but rich over academic, my jealousy toward Neruda's odes to common things. I write my odes to socks and my work boots each day. I admit my bias toward working people. I see how they cultivate and create. And I too want my fingers to root. I want to drop my ink seeds and tell the beautiful truth. That's that piece. I'm going to finish up with a piece that I wrote because I went from engineering physics into creative writing, and it was a big culture shift for me, and all new. I lost all my hours and all new professors. And so this is called The Bumblebee and the Falcon. It's a short poem. There was flight, and then there's flight. There's a bumblebee, and there's a falcon. In college, one professor says there's no reality. Another professor says there are infinite realities. They are both teaching me. I want to lock them together in a room full of philosophy and physics texts and let them battle to the death. Only I know that the death match will end, and when the victory door opens, a poet will step out and tell me something I'm not ready to hear. So, which is the answer, I'll ask. He will reply, it is okay to be conflicted. My pen buzzes like a bumblebee in my grasp, but some days I write like a falcon flies. Thanks for listening.
I have to admit, just having Adrian and Johnny here, like Adrian talks about how he gets choked up. Just having you guys here chokes me up a bit. When I was in Toledo last fall, I was having sort of a spiritual disconnect for the first time since I've been there. And I don't know, no place really felt like home for a while. And just a weird time. So just I want to say having you guys here means a lot to me. And thank you. But so Adrian talked about working people. And there is no person on this planet that makes me feel easier than this next gentleman. Because I am very lover of candy. But this next guy is a worker. He's a father. He is my very, very good friend. And he's the author of several new books, including 47 poems, and Alec Baldwin, both of which I think we have out there. Do you have?
Yeah,
both
there's
of
only
those
a
out there?
couple copies of that one.
So it is one of the few people that keeps me from kind of losing my shit. Victor Clevenger.
All right, John mentioned a few collections, and I will read from those. But first, Adrian had mentioned we are working on a project, kind of like the Braided Creek. So he read a few short pieces. I've printed off. I've got a few short pieces, and so I'm just going to read a few of these. And this project is going to go on for a while. So who knows how long, but eventually you will have a collection of short pieces of mine.
Jason Reberg will also.
So I was sitting over there and I was honestly paying attention. I wasn't trying to be the dick that was like, what people was reading, but I was just trying to find a few things to read. So I'll just read it short. On trellis for the last half hour, a mantis sitting motionless in prayer, but who's listening? I honestly couldn't tell you if it is better described as waking up from a nightmare or waking up satisfied. I can only tell you that I am just a man who dies in some of my dreams and lives in the others. At least 15 clocks in this house and 5 children. You learn which ones you can depend on. She said that even a dumb dog knows the difference between being tripped over and kicked. She says there isn't hope, but there is still hope for hope. I've never been good at remembering the words to unwritten songs. Some say you can be satisfied to death. I spill coffee on the counter at 5 a.m. as a stubborn cat nips at a fly outside the kitchen window. It is everything not inside the kitchen window. Today, two Amish men shared a cold bottle of Pepsi. One black danced around in a rainstorm, and one naked woman climbed into bed beside me. Elsewhere, a lot of other shit happened too. The last one. Holding an empty hourglass, she says it feels timeless. Alright, so at some point. Alright, let's jump into this. This was a limited edition. It was published over in the UK by Gierke Press. It was a print run of 50, and they're all sold out. The only one out available is out there on that table, so there's one out there. It's called Confession from a Past Life. And there's a series of poems in here, once I find them, titled Confession of a Past Life. Confession of a Past Life. Always my wife stoned on pills, standing beside me shouting life sucks, that we are just two ships on a big blue ocean, and I always wish that there was some truth to that. That maybe one time and she would finally fall asleep to just sink slowly all the way to the bottom. Confession from a Past Life number 2. At times I tell myself I need a pistol to toss into the river because sometimes love goes bad. Confession from a Past Life number 3. I held a picket sign that said nothing. Confession from a Past Life number 4. And this is the final one. You can pour another drink, and sometimes that helps. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes a man just has to realize that there is nothing he can do with a woman who chooses to let him do nothing. Alright, a few from this. Jonie mentioned 47 poems. This collection I started writing in 2018, and it rolled through into 2019. I wrapped it up. Instagram and socials, this blackout poetry was a huge thing. They would take text and they would black it out. Like, I can do this. 47 sections of trout fishing, so I'll do 47 blackout poems. I got started with it, and I was like, I fucking hate blackout poetry. It's not me. So I jumped over to more of an erasure found poetry style. So what that means is I threw 47 sections of Richard Bryan's trout fishing and wrote a poem for each section. Now my poems were written with Brodigan's words. I went through each section and I found words in there. I took them, I pulled them out, I threw them aside, I rearranged them on the page to create my own. The 47 poems are in the found poetry style, but they're from Richard Brodigan's trout fishing in America. His words. So read it. And to me that shit was tough because I would write a poem and the next day I did better words than that. So I throw it out and I start over. So finally got to a point where it's stop. Like, this is what you got. Alright, disordered portion. There was no money. There was only a slice of an old romance and a side dish of chicken, a mere shadow of reality. Girlfriend. America, take care. America, squeeze out the beautiful and bottle the juice. America, pour a spoonful of America on America, said a small girl with dried cherries and listened as she sang to the moons coming out. As if it were a movie. Wife and man in a basement with a pistol. Wife pulled the trigger, shooting man in his huge peach head, and hundreds in the town discovered there's no humor in a photograph of dead companions. I'm glad you got late. But when a young girl said, would you like to come inside me, you fell in love, and that was not necessary. America, we can't fuck like this forever. Without moving, our middle-aged days hold their breath. Lay there, spread open, staring out a window at yesterday morning. So it was by the small thought that pulled out our rearrangement of the last Jonie mentioned was out of ball, and this was also a limited run out. There's 2 out on the table. That's all I got. They're sold out. Oh, all right. So this collection is sold out. It's done. I don't know that I'm ever going to reprint it until I do our collection. If you follow the work, I've done a lot of limited small print runs on my haiku because I'm working to build a larger 300-400 collection that contains all these limited that some sold out in 3 hours, some of them sold out before they went available. So this will be a collection for long. What I'm going to do, I don't know how I am going to rip this whole thing or do half. All right. So what I will do is this is split into 2 sections. I will read the second section in space between. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start. I'm just going to run through them. There's like 30, 40 haiku, but we'll get there. Nursing hangover. The sun at its highest point over old oak trees. Nonchalantly, tree branch reaching out towards the hips of another. Erotic display. Vagina-shaped tree bark caressing phallic tick. Naked bird body lying dead, the only witness, a silent tree. Accompanying the wind, the darkness of night calls for nobody. Butterflies in mourning, all gathered around trampled coneflowers. Sticks and stones darting into the busy background, dragonfly disappears. Pink pom-pom affixed to pointless stick, fishing gutter for plastic doll. My daughter stalking, rambunctious hummingbird, spooked by sudden movement. My children watch me savagely devour the last strawberry cupcake. My fat wallet fins to bare bones as children shoot rockets at the moon. Naked space between nose and lip, dreaming a Billy Childish mustache. Chaotic brain broke, 1,000 pieces falling, grit on a teenage tongue. Screen door off hinges. It's been many years since I paid for a good screw. Soaking wet below hips, 2 young lovers wade through flooding emotions. Predicting 100% chance of desire for the weather girl. Nights under neon lights, her sheer dress casting out, catching nothing but stares. Slobbering on a bone where every dog dreaming under thin blankets. Simply stating facts, I scars to prove I've never hit it and quit it. Heavy sigh rolling down chest through the night of Dale's god out awful house. Naked her work pants, a spider hiding in her underwear drawer. She welcomes my lips, exploring the valley between her aging breasts. Her life never paused through the pain of living it, and yours won't either. Old truck stop hooker, sifting through garbage in search of some discarded youth. Blood-stained lips, without a doubt, there's no shade no shade of color more sorrowful. Pavement outside the dollar store, chocolate heart smashed into sweet garbage. Pinching a cigarette, old girl with snapping turtle smile sips slow gin. 2 dimes and some spit, fondle, broom bristles on gas station parking lot. My mother's father, smiling in photographs that I was never in. All that remains are a few fuzzy memories, my father's mother. Except for selfishness, my father paints everything with 2 coats. They say you can still hear rustling sounds and gunshots, outlaws, high beams punching through midnight stillness, a slow drive to the silver moon. Sleeping drunk on bathroom floors, you should probably stop, America. Gold medal, America's teary eyes, 18 shootings this week. Dog stretches out chain, wrapped twice around neck, passing clouds choke out the sun. Thanks.
The next person I'm going to have is been a friend of mine for quite a while. She's lovely. In addition to being a very talented musician, she also created the cover for my book. I bet you think this song is about you, which is primarily poems about Greg Edmondson. And I have to say, it's wonderful. Like, I love poetry, but I get so sick of it sometimes. So it's wonderful to get something different up here, particularly in a community of this size. One of the things when I came here that amazed me is that how people sort of came out of the woodwork for arts programs, not only poetry, but music if it can be found. And this community really proud of itself because we have a lot more go on here than communities like 10 times our size. So that I won't go off on like a tangent, but with that I will just welcome my friend Adrian Teachout. It is great to see you. Welcome.
So I just found out I was playing tonight when I walked up. So I'm not in tune or warmed up, so I'm gonna play a bunch of sad songs, because that's what I write. This first song started out as a song about finding that somebody had lied to me about something. While I was writing it, a friend of mine took his life, and it became that song. So there are 2 songs that become one song. Don't wanna hear about it. stuff. I've got a single coming out Friday. It's called Still and then the 24th, I'm coming out, and also I'm going on a little tour. So if you find yourself in DFW or Austin or New Orleans, the last week of June, I'll be there. I'm not actually crying, I promise. I got hair junk in my eye, and that often happens when I'm This next song is about loving someone who's dealing with addiction. You're scared of who you think I'm, but you've been scared as was. Could you see me through your pupils? Could you see me through your eyes, blue eyes? Oh, you raised a hand to me and I fell. I couldn't free you from your personal hell. So I told you that I had to get going. If you saw me now, you'd never know how it hurts to go on. I'm gonna play you one more sad song. That song's called Low Profile, and in a second sing along. What a summer, what a fall, up until it broke us all. I paid to cut you like a grass in my arms. What a nightmare, what a
And so the next person I would like to bring up here is a friend of mine who also came from Dallas, Texas. We have known each other about 6 years, and Reverend and I met because I was going through Dallas with Nathaniel Stolte and his crew of people, and Reverend didn't know us from anything, and she gave us a place to stay, which is what all poets should do, with that sense of community, as long as people are not crazy. No, but I really appreciate it. I have a sense of entitlement with that stuff. So Reverie is, she's a wife, she's a mother, she's an educator. She was one of the founders of the Meet Me with Curiosity series that was at Warren Park, Dallas. And so it's just it's wonderful to have you here. It's been too long since we've seen each other. I was trying to remember, and I think last time I saw you was when I came for your wedding. Maybe. Was that?
17.
No, you were there. Oh, I was there in 2002.
Ginger roots.
Gingers, okay.
Well,
You guys have come because you came
Yeah,
right
he
in
would
yeah.
now.
We won't go into that. But just my old middle-aged brain. But again, it's wonderful to have you, and I would just like to welcome up Reverend Koniecki, and I would like to say, everyone, give her a loud applause.
So the first poem I'm going to read is my husband, Paul Koniecki's poem. He wanted to be here very badly, but he contracted COVID a week ago, and so that threw a damper on our plans. We actually almost didn't come, and at the last minute decided to come, and I'm glad we did. So, all right, so this first one by Paul is called We Have to Share Hiccups. For Adam Rainier, the only recorded adult little person and an adult giant in history. So basically, Adam Rainier, all the way up until age 19, he was a midget. And then growth spurt happens and he becomes a giant. And so the concept of the book is his mother taking him around to different circuses to see, to find a place for him. So this one's called We Had to Share Hiccups. Inherent in slow braveries, was secretly revealed when I was young. I dreamed of breathing fire before mobs of incandescent strangers, witnessing the color orange burn down. The graduation of the night as I stood, perfume oiled and glistening before everything and God. The clandestine matters, my unformed heart laid bare. A father's voice repeating, black is distance, only when you haven't crossed it yet. As from behind, memory and tent cloth, the snake boy's eyes appeared, savage brilliant color red, beyond combustion, erasing guesswork of what oxygen hitting blood of what oxygen hitting blood reveals. All right, and now I'm going to read you a few of mine. This first one is called When Your Oldest Daughter Gets Mono. You make apple tea in the crock. You ruminate about the health properties of cinnamon and fresh ginger, how they're supposed to be the cure-all for everything, how the vitamin C from the freshly cut apples and limes will surely boost her immune system. You stir and think about how last night was the first time in years she asked you for a massage, and how surprised you were to discover that she still has that dry patch of raised skin on her left ankle, and how automatically your fingers traveled back in time to when you first brought her home from the hospital to that tiny two-bedroom apartment on North Ames Street. You are surprised that you still remember the detail of the pink flower swirling green stem wallpaper, the green cushion rocker, and its matching moving ottoman that you put together yourself. You are surprised at how much your body aches in the absence of hers, how time has cleaved your bodies further and further apart. This is a peninsula that broke off and became an island. You think of the first time your mother drove you over the Chesapeake Bay Bridge as you knead her elongated legs. You wonder if she'll have more mercy than you, who just stood there in the lobby of Davidson Hall for a nanosecond before offering your mother a pageant wave and rising to the fourth floor where you would bloom into a freshman. You wonder if she'll allow you to cradle her one last time, if she'll pretend to not be embarrassed by your sentimentality. You roll your thumbs over the birthmark on her back. You remember how you used to give her lavender baths in the sink. You want to lift her, to accordion those arms and legs so she fits in your lap again. You want to hold her head fast to your chest as if both of your lives depend on this contact. You want to rock her till she falls asleep, to listen to each breath. You want to believe each collapse of her chest will be followed by a subsequent rise. This next one is called The Wars That Steer Us. I sit on a wicker hamper outside the bathroom, barely able to stay quiet. Pre-adolescent girl giggles carbonate my throat. You emerge escorted by shower fog. The scent of soap and jerkins, wearing a clean face and nightgown. Pink foam rollers line your hair uniformly like headstones. I execute my joke and roar with all my stomach into the small night of the hallway. Your hands move efficiently, knotting themselves around my neck. Follicles on my arms rise, heads coming out of prayer, tulips breaking ground in the last leg of winter, Jesus on the third day. I quickly understand that jokes are battlefields of undeclared wars. The currency of the spleen has no value here. No matter how many metaphors you throw at a rock, it will always be a rock. Which is to say, you wished my father loved you enough to stay. My father, half man, all beast, with whom I share this uncivilized language. There are no pictures of him. There is only me, perched on the coffee table with the smile of a guitar. It is as if we were never here. I'm all you've got, you'd say, with the remorse and pain of a chipped tooth. The smell of my blue magic coated cornrows breaks the spell, and you realize I am not the monster you see. This is not a fucking game, you say quietly. Voice omnipresent, the hum of the refrigerator controlled with threat. Anyone would sacrifice the small animal of themselves for love if they had to. This next one is called The Language You Should Understand. For my mother, who went to every school board meeting to make space for your body. Your mother tries to kiss you and incises your cheek instead. You don't speak for light years until the injury is so far away it doesn't matter anymore. There is no apology, only the weariness of anger. Yet you make revolutions, ruminating the block as many times as you can fit into a lunch hour. This is the season you will go the wrong way on a one-way. You complain about your mother to anyone with a nodding head. You run as far as your smoker's lungs will take you, map questing 1,700 miles across country with $50 in your bank account, baby strapped to your back. You flee a cold, unfriendly city to another cold, unfriendly city, with the tools of complacency stowed in the trunk of your car. Bone, sharp teeth, monogamy. You are as naive as the uniformed children plunging into the crosswalk, electrophiles from third marriages, predictable plaids and knee socks, conjugating hot chips and Kool-Aid pickles, fingers caped with the subtitled language of salted red pollen and saliva streaking thighs, destinies illuminated in taillights of dissipating traffic. You brand yourself a new name with the earnestness of revelation. You, connoisseur of TED Talks. You, unsuspecting mother tongue. You, bearer of out-of-wedlock children, bending to raise eyebrows like a willow branch. Not everyone believes in the river, but everyone is immersed in a God that will eventually kill them. Under the cinch of the Bible Belt, you become fluent in the language of the city. Squat trees and sparse shadows, burning grass at the side of the highway, scalding upholstery that sticks to your thighs. Air as unforgiving as a pair of jeans one size too small. You forgive your mother and start to see her as a woman. Strings of gravel lining the stoplight swarm into choreograph, rising and falling like the stock market, like waves collapsing into small, undeveloped countries. This next one is called Ancestors. I always feel a little bit weird. This one is about the middle passage, and I always feel a little bit weird talking about the middle passage just because it's such a big idea. But why not? So, when you kiss the sun, it becomes an accomplice to extinction, a shadow casting light. Despite burnt offerings, the earth drowns. There is no ark where you are welcome. You must know your value in water, because stories go down easier than promises. With no acres nor mule, you live on the edge, severed umbilically from two continents, straddling the water, always the water. At the bottom of this passage are bodies to tabulate, bodies to tabulate, bodies to tabulate, liability before being tossed overboard for indemnification. Yet water doesn't cleanse any more than eloquence and good manners. Muscles are of no consequence. Your body has no answers. Your gods have no answers. Whales feel the air like milk in a suckling baby's stomach. The slap of salt on skin. The first of many lashings. History and media res. Tell the children to remember the bodies, the bodies, the bodies. This next one is called Her Best Behavior. Dandelions have poisons dedicated to eradicating their existence because it's impolite to dream on a yard someone else has claimed. My mother has taken root in me and bloomed. She is a birthday candle dancing fluidly despite the assault of breath. Embers of her body diffuse like talcum powder on my grandmother's body after a bath. This is the offense, to be everywhere and nowhere. The mouth is a common executioner. I've been resurrected from many last words. I'm no Lady Lazarus, but I'm the kind of woman who says things like, God, I hate insurance, and I'll have a half pound of the Lebanese bologna, and yes, ma'am, I'll talk to him about those missing assignments. I live in a cemetery of small appliances. My headstone reads, this air fryer has a half-life left. Preheat and my skin peels off in sheets. Nakedly standing mid-street, not stopping traffic. I am gloriously alive. My daughters wear wigs and 3-inch eyelashes that they flutter coquettishly like high beams issuing a warning behind a driver who has forgotten to turn on their headlamps. I mourn the bubblegum pink of their childhoods each time I pass a playground because this is how I will always remember them. I lost my place. I tell them to move like felines crouched in a bush, that my voice will rise up within them in their blackest moments. I tell them to dig their own canals, to machete their way across this continent until their hands crack. The next one is called When You Can't Conquer the Mountain. You keep going, knowing this shit will kill you, carrying your worn leather boots in your arms, the way you might cradle a fallen child. You disturb the earth as you dance, because resistance is another appetite, at the end of the horizon where the sun melts into nostalgia like adolescence. You don't so much forgive as you forget the violence you were born with, eyes in the back of your head, all of which are black holes bending light and ingesting small galaxies. The universe has a tongue that extracts itself from equations after the loss of an argument. Listen to the silence hovering like a dog under a table, begging to be broken. She is a marble statue in the eye of a hurricane, alive, refusing to shut her down, or bend, or snap, or fly, despite the pleading of wind-whipped conifers. She dances a rhythmless two-step when it rains, because it reminds her of childhood. Her chiseled breast, unplucked fruit dangling from the vine, long past ripening or desire. Suede skin, not supple, but softened by time. An emergency C-section scar divides her torso into mirrored images, endlessly reverberating what has been lost. Forget about her pain. Tell her she is strong, for the meek shall inherit the earth. Tell her to be silent, for her silence will protect her. Love her, for thine is an image of a god. See her, walk the streets wearing sensible shoes, booty shorts and a halter. Her thighs grow together. A small in a back spills over her bra. She wears paint on eyebrows, sings lullabies to your knees, picks bluebonnets every April. She is first in line at the corner store buying a pack of Black and Milds. She is never hungry, because strong women don't need rain or allergies or pillows to cover her tears. You could kiss her skin, she wouldn't even bleed. Rather, her face glows as if illuminated by headlamps seconds before collision. Thank you.
Jason, I'm not telling you your job. But no, I was sitting there thinking that what I'd like to do is because next month is actually a year that I have been hosting these readings. It'll be because it started last July. I'd like to put together an anthology of all the featured readers from that 12-month period that we could do. So, I'm just telling you now that I'm going to put work on your plate.
Thanks for saying it in front of everybody.
Yeah, I wouldn't be me if I didn't do it that way. All right. So with that, I am going to bring up our last featured person for the evening, and then we are going to take a short break, and I will bring the open mic people afterward. But the last reader we have for tonight has been my friend for a long time, and is the current poet laureate of Lucas County, which encompasses Toledo and a lot of other towns around that area. I don't claim to be good with geography. And so she has books out there. Are you the third poet laureate?
I am the third.
Because it was Joel, Jim Ferris.
First one is not a professor.
And thank God for that. But Joel was just poet laureate forever.
Yeah.
He just was
They both actually were for about 8 years because.
well, here's to your next 8 years.
Indecision, yeah, well, we'll see.
You know. But so with that, I would just like to welcome up my friend Jonie McIntire, who without her, I do not think for the last few years, and I've said this about, there would be a poetry scene in Toledo. I really believe that. I believe you carry it kind of on your shoulders the same way I feel that John Burroughs kind of carries Cleveland on his shoulders in a lot of ways, and people don't realize how many poetry communities across America are basically pushed forward by like 3 or 4 people.
It's person or a place.
It's really true. It's really true. There's a big void felt when certain people come and go in different places. But Johnny, it's lovely to see you. It's awesome.
Always. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I have to say, last year, I couldn't stand being in my house for one more minute last year when it got to be this time of year. So when I mentioned it to John and said, hey, could we maybe read there or something? And he put together something that was like a lifesaver. I mean, really, I was going to kill my children, but they lived. And I have to say, I'm shocked by how, I'm going to talk about the last couple of years. I feel like I don't want to talk about the COVID years. I feel like I don't want to talk about politics, and I don't want to talk about human rights. But again, I do want to talk about all of those things because that's what's going on and that's what's been going on, and we're all carrying that weight. And I don't want to carry that weight forever. So I have to say, if you want fart jokes or funny things, you might want to go shop, whatever. But it's not all heavy. But anyway, okay. So I'm going to start with a really quick one, and this is for the ladies. It's called "Again We Rise." Sometimes alive is a thing that happens after the blue. The pale-faced baby, light skin, the deep trench of sadness, the drowned boy in public pool dripping cheese fries and Slurpee and no swimming lessons. Sometimes alive is what happens after abortion, what follows funeral, after loss has lapped at you like a river until you walked out of its pull, a hunger, a compulsion, like the tide, the sun, insistent, incessant. So, we've gone through these phases, right, where you go, okay, I'm going to focus on happy things, and you have a good day, and whatever, and then you get hit by the everything, and you have I'm just going to wake up, brush my teeth, and feel like a success because I brushed my teeth today, So this is one for that kind of feeling. This is called "When Light Doesn't Reach You, Go Out and Find It." So says my therapist. And in promise to her, I make myself go for a walk every day. Overcast again. I circle a local graveyard. Old sweat layered on new. In a hoodie worn now 3 days. It hangs on me like shame. She says to shower every day too. Drink water, eat fruit. I pick one. The list feels like weight reaching so many lines. She says, go even when you don't feel like it. On my way back into the neighborhood, I pass a massive black and silver truck shadowing a freshly edged driveway. A man in baseball cap humming to himself as he rips open a fresh pack of bright orange chamois cloths. He is consumed by this task, polishing the already glowing beast that I am sure has never hauled dirt or a rusty toolbox. He circles the cloth on the door panel softly, song in his head so joyous it bumbles out in quiet bursts, and looks at the reflection, not of himself, but of the sun, emerging to spread itself wide, its light so pure, even bent to reach my downcast eye, it finds me through this long stretch of spring. We were talking about working in an office building, and I wanted to share. I worked in an office building for 17 years, if you can believe that. And in a corporate office, and so this is a poem that came from that. It took 17 years to write this poem. It's called "Errors in Both Service and Reception." As part of my promotion, my boss makes me read his favorite books on business leadership. By the way, have you ever read a book on business? Okay. To stay sane, I play sand volleyball at a dive bar near a hospital. 3 nights a week, 3 different teams. Monday night is a killer. 2 players are not strong, and I found the rest of the team shuns them. My inability to set well has been the subject of whispers, and our top spiker hits into the net but has reasons. Thursday night, we drink, knock balls out into the parking lot and laugh. Sometimes nobody hits a ball all night. The other teams enjoy us, mostly because they win. But they stay late, show up early, just to practice a bit, joke and show off. Tuesday is so competitive, we are down to only 4 players. Those are my best nights. Ball in the air, there's no one else to get it for you, so you run. The other team knows when I'm weak and targets me, so I get better at returns, at popping the ball straight up to a teammate. One time, in a weekly one-on-one meeting with my boss, when he quizzed me about the books, I tried to explain to him how, when the ball is in the air, if nobody calls it, it's yours to hit. That leaders know this, but that good leaders know when not to hit as well. When to let the ball fall. When to let the weaker players try and fail because otherwise they never get better. But he rattled on about ground swells of support and continually adding value, getting to yes, and knowing your role in the marketplace. That I needed to know the ins and outs of coding, data warehousing, statistical analysis. Always be the smartest person in the room. There is a sound when the ball hits the sand, and everyone who didn't quite get there looks at the divot. An awkward silence like recrimination. It turns to pointed fingers and sits like dead weight. A whole office building can sound like that. A whole 17 years. Okay, so another one for the ladies. It's called Why Women Drink. We all know. The ladies know why. Let me tell you. It comes down to a question of weight. The mass of ourselves bearing repeated ups and downs. We sing the sinner's Hail Mary hopes, eat wafers wanting whole bodies. We pray to ascend, blame gravity and our thick with sin skin for keeping us heavy. Our shoulders palmed by guilt. We are grateful for sweet eyes of liquid Savior. We find the sun's blood makes us float. Yes, my Lord, yes, weightless as clouds, light as a rib, as an apple seed, hollow of everything but the knowledge that liquid reaches down to roots, and we are gracious earth from which everything grows. Okay, so on the drinking issue, this is a little short one. On trying to decide between the bottle of liver rescue or just coming back to light beer. When the engine of her Mazda seized up, her father asking when was the last time the oil was changed, she admitted she kept meaning to ask for help, but figured as long as it kept running, everything should be fine, right? Okay. So 2020 was shocking and new and scary, but invigorating, and all of these crazy things, right? So there's excitement to it. 2021 was a little like extended excitement, which is exhausting, okay? And at the tail end of 2021, we had a death in the family. My grandmother died, and this is, matriarch, so we're losing our the spider web you all return to. We're losing those little webs that we return to, and then another thing, and so somehow this year has been, big negative, big positive, big negative, big positive, big negative, big positive. So it's just a year of extremes. So anyway, this is this is one for, I'm gonna read a couple about my Uncle Thomas, because he's been most affected in my family about some of these. So anyway, this is from the point of view of my Uncle Thomas. This is Matthew at the worst time. Perhaps after the holiday rush, when my mother's house is sold, when her body turned to dust finally finds its way into dirt. If you insist, after I move the cat she doted on, and my 51 years packed into boxes into at least one bedroom. Definitely after Florida. You know my niece Erin gets the kids all worked up. Ayla has been asking about you, and Kellen still calls you Matthew. So adorable. Good Lord, then it's the family reunion. One hotel, so many booming voices. And the promotion, you don't know about that, I guess. But now I cover Pittsburgh up to New York. Back to school hits in August and bumps into the holidays, and you just know Black Friday is going to be crazy. Remember last year? That chick tried to break in and you stopped her cold. Really, Matthew, not before my first Christmas without Mom. You know how I am. Being adopted makes me clingy. You know that. So maybe, if you insist, after all that, I could deal with your suicide. But not now, Matthew. Please. Okay. I'm not going to hit you with all these sad things. There's so many sad things. Okay, now, what Felicia says. 1. As I roll past the police car at the intersection, I tap the brakes immediately. Only 2 miles over, not bad. My front headlight has been out forever, but it's daytime and I haven't been pulled over yet. I try to picture my brake lights. Think for a moment how they're like the middle of your back, a part you never get to see yourself. My friend Felicia was pulled light above her license plate. I don't even know if you can see the numbers on my plate. The stickers there, I remember putting it on the pile of stickers from previous years. So many, I think one of these days they'll all fall right off. The plate itself is held on by one rusting bolt, so it rattles when I stop. But nobody ever pulls me over. 2. Felicia says she gets in her car, she makes sure her cell phone is fully charged. When there's a cop car behind her, she touches her mother's name on the contact button. She touches the police information button she has programmed into her phone. She says what you do when they start to pull you over is call immediately. They have to tell someone when they pull you over. Don't do anything until they confirm it. She says people disappeared that way, trying to comply only for their bodies to be found later. I say I usually just think, what now? Or now I'm going to be late. I don't even know any numbers for police other than 911. Felicia has them all programmed into her phone. Non-emergency public records. She tries to remember their names, the cops on beat in her neighborhood, so she can look them in the eye, say their name. She doesn't want to be afraid, but Felicia says when she sees a cop car behind her, she wonders, would they kill her? 3. During the winter, I miss the rain because there's nothing to wash the salt off my car. You can barely see through my car windows. They're so dusted with white road salt. I can't imagine anyone can see into my car. Felicia says that's why she pays extra for tinted windows. But it's like they can still see black skin through dark windows. She says, has anyone ever asked why you're in this neighborhood? I say no. Maybe why so early or late, where are you headed, and definitely why so fast. I say I drive like I'm in a road race and I'm about to win. I laugh at my silliness. She says she's been asked why she's here in her own neighborhood. She says she doesn't want to feel like this, but she tries to disappear. Okay. I'm going to do a slightly funny one because then I'm going to follow it with something quite different. Okay, so the slightly funny one is, okay, so let's say you're hungry for roast beef, okay? But you don't have the means to have roast beef, but there's an Arby's, okay? So maybe you get something at Arby's, right? much is porn, okay? Right? It's not the thing, it's the Arby's 2-for-1 special. Okay, so let's just say I happen to be on a site and I happen to be reading the little clickbaity titles, and let's just say I happen to write some of them down because they're really funny. Okay, so here's just a couple of the titles. All right. Slim girls with small tits and hairy pussies like lesbian sex more than playing cards. Lesbos underwater having in the pool. Hairy lesbian enjoy lesbian sex in the morning with suspicious girlfriend. And my favorite of all, what is that in your hands?
But it's not Arby's.
It's not Arby's. Well, I don't know.
I'm gonna be thinking about Arby's.
Okay. So the next one. So this is in the style of. It's another one for the ladies. This is in the style of Where the Wild Things Are, the children's book. Okay. So, and what made me think of this is it doesn't matter. Just read the thing. Okay. Where the Wild Things Are. The women wear their business suits or skirts or gym shorts and keep getting themselves into trouble and more trouble. They get called whore or prude, and they say, I don't need you, and get put into smaller rooms and told to starve. And from their quiet, a juggle grows and grows and grows until their world is a grotesque of faces, and their foundation is the backs of women who made them. And seas like blood flow shame from private places, and they float through village and century and weave history into months and circle under tides to where they can see what they are really being told. And when they hear their grandmother's anger and their mother's exhaustion and the correcting and chiding, and see the lipstick trails and nylon shame, the falseness of males that scream war, and try to play the parlor tricks of making money without seeming scary. And the falseness lines up and calls women princess and dresses them up like porcelain fuck dolls. And the women think something has shifted, and they say, let the revolution start. Now, where have they say? And they shoo history away like a fly, and the women feel hollow, like empty boxes, and they are told that's what they are. Then, all around them, they see they are still at parlor tricks, and they want solid ground under feet. So they say princess isn't enough and was never true, but the godly and the fearful use guilt, and say you may as well be the calf who wants to be eaten, and the women can't say no. The wild truth roars its terrible gospel, and the women see their mothers and grandmothers' backs bent, and they try to straighten and stand and move forward, even over years and in and out of different roles, and through to today, and back into the night of this very room is yellow wallpaper waiting for us, but we're still caught. And I'm end on a happy note. Yay! Okay.
See, this poll will be directly about Arby's.
It will be directly. It's not about Arby's. It's about roast beef, baby. Okay, so this is, but then you and I have always been ekphrastic poetry. Your feet like gnarled tree roots, gulping air at the base of the bed as my hairy legs and icicle toes curl, sheet, comforter, basket, stitched blanket crocheted during last winter, when ice frosted the inside of our windows as I watched old British ladies coo over a dead body among crows. And you drink a gulp of water, turn over the Sam Cooke album to listen to Green Onions again, as my arm outstretched over you turns off the light from a small anchor lamp, and our canvas becomes a steady stillness. Thank you.
Sean, before we break, can we
take a break. I usually tell everyone 10 minutes. We never come back 5 minutes. So I'm going to tell everyone 12 minutes. And that will probably be wishful thinking.
You're gonna say like 5.
I can
That's
say
30
8
seconds.
minutes instead. I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you, is Red Wells still in Toledo? Is there still?
Oh,
No. Oh, it closed.
Oh, no. That was the best roast
It
beef
was.
right
Yes,
there.
that was the roast beef. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
All right, so with that, we're going to take a break, but we're going to, all the featured people, stay here. Agnes is getting a photograph. I do it with my phone, but I forgot it, and it's a piece of garbage anyway. But, all right, everyone else who's not a prisoner's escape out there, and then go and buy some of those books on the table. As soon as these readers are done getting their photo taken, they will be happy to take your money. I left some of my books out there as well because I'm a crass capitalist. Thank you. All right, let's get this photo. They just know that I just have nothing else to speak for me.
You were an example,
Right.
yeah.
Mac, do you want to
See,
read
I'm,
it?
maybe 5 minutes a day person.
All right. Well, then we have everyone in. Who's all still here? Looks like it. All right. With that, I will just call up the few people that are here for the open mic. And since I just asked them about it, I will bring up my friend and in front of a lot of people here. He just released. Come on up here, man.
This first one is called Deliverance. To some, deliverance wasn't just a movie, but a manifesto. The way nature seeks repentance from man and the unjust contract, the sacrifice was made, and some mistakes too. Offer my life as tribute to the Mother River. This natural menace, this orgy of death plots against us. The bugs and trees ferment plans of reprisal through trickles and tiny beating wings that hum against the smooth rocks. These toads seem to be in on it too, like slimy freedom fighters jumping from their spider holes in anticipation of what's to come. This rusted old fence is the closest thing I have to an ally out here, all besides that guy in a ski-doo skipping down the river. He seems pretty alright. And I'm just going to do like a really short thing. So I'm not going to read the whole poem. I just want to read this one stanza that I have from it. It's from Old Farm Dog and Brown Snakes and Flat Tops, which is my newest collection of poetry. At supper, we think of things to say in between crushing potatoes, about books, music, or maybe a story of old. Small talk like a cleaning rag can only be wrung out so many times. Yet it only takes one twist to end the life of a rabbit, and even less to end the evening. And this last one I'm going to do is really short, but it's going to be featured in Broken Galaxies, which originally they just asked me, they took some of the art I made, so if you're looking for that, or have never seen my art, it's going to be in Broken Galaxies, which is going to be out in June 15th, and they asked if I would, they're like, hey, you write poetry too, so throw this in, so I wrote something for it. It's just the way, it's called Marlon Brando. It's just the way she sings Sweet Billy in my ear in this motel room at the corner of Rock Bottom and Heartache. Makes me feel like Brando in a bathrobe.
Thank you, sir. All right. I'd like to thank everybody who has stayed to this point. I want to remind everyone, I mentioned this when we came up, but July 9th, Jonathan Baker, Ian Bush, and Tim Heerdink will be here July 9th, which is the Saturday at 6 p.m., which is when we're always here, typically. And so I am going to close this evening out with my next door neighbor, a man who is a fan of the chocolate malt and all things sweet, Mr. Steve Burgess. Steve.
Thank you. And thank you all, really, for quite a overwhelming reading this evening. It's really delightful. I'm just going to read a couple because it's time to go. Remains to be seen. Evolution proceeds apace, lightning bolt fast, like shot from guns. The climate ain't the weather, and vice versa. The lightning overhead is the same as those shooting stars, only much closer, cleaner, from the ground up, leaving little or no electrostatic dust in its wake. There were always bunches of rules around, which even now we only know a few. There are long lists of them in libraries, physics labs, biology department, the girls' gym, and down at the pool. No running with mixed drinks. But really, it's not so much in schools or churches or in that long, slow line down at the bank or the drive-through or at bloody dawn sweating in the back seat of an idling black and white through no fault of your own. It's more likely you'll find them scrawled in the margin of greasy spoon menus graffitied on the backs of traffic signs at crowded four-ways that you barely get a glimpse of just by chance when finally you yield your turn at the roundabout. You speed by in such a hurry on your way to that final cool somewhere that you will never ever know either. Rules are made to be bent, if not outright broken. The juice is the score, and your lifetime allowance of adrenaline can be contained in a teaspoon, tablespoon, coffee cup, pickle bucket, whatever. It's your life. Just don't take it all at once. That's the first rule. Let me see if I can get my, oh, okay. Jason and I have been helping each other the past few weeks on our homework. And so I wrote this one about Thelonious Monk, blasting out. Monk was blasting out my wide open car windows as I tootled around town today, blessing everyone with his jazz and wishing I had a moonroof. I was playing along with his magical Paris 64 quartet, then and now. But that's jazz, a purely benign violation of time and space. It's great hearing Monk and his astronauts again and again. They always go way out on the edge of the known universe through the portal of song, and they bring it back home every time. They never miss, and they never leave anyone behind. Here's one from up at the residence, up at the retreat where I've been blessed to stay for this period of time. It's really been delightful. And this one's called Mama Visits the Retreat. And there's a quote from These Foolish Things. How a ghost of you clings, these foolish things. I can feel Mama's ghost hovering around me here. I'm bent over the big commercial sinks. Morning sun comes in over my shoulder, and the peacock calls out to anyone from out on the grounds. A dripping coffee pot is at my left hand, and a bright, clean sponge at my right. She's so glad to see me cleaning up things, putting them in their proper place while I make us a couple of pots of good, strong coffee. I pour her a cup and set it gently into its matching saucer with a dollop of fresh cream like she always liked. I keep scrubbing away at the giant sinks, cleaning up after my friends and colleagues, still asleep under a shrub. I've already deep cleaned the grease off the gas range, scratched away at the pots and pans covered in ancient baked-on grease and wiped eons of fingerprints off of the fridge doors. When all the dishes and silver are sparkling clean and safely stacked in their drying racks, Mama and I move out to the porch to catch a bit more of the morning sun. Time to take it easy, forever it seems. I put my feet up, fighting gravity all the way. It's easy to read her mind, exactly what we're thinking now. Were all those guys born in a barn? Peace. Hey, that's enough. Time to go. We've had a big show, John. Thank you very much.
All right. For that, we are done for this evening. It's always great to be here. I'd like to thank Mark for allowing us to be here. I'd like to thank Tony. I'd like to thank the Friends of the Bell Library, who are doing really great things, and it's a lot of it's a thankless thing, except for when you get people together and you experience community, and that's what this was. So thank you all so much. I'm very tired. I'm tired of hearing my own voice, but I love you, and we will see you next month. And then Jason Reberg has to get on a train and go to Albany. So looking forward to that. Thank you so much.